This is the Marketing for Learning podcast, the only podcast in the world that's guaranteed to increase your knowledge, skills, and capabilities when it comes to marketing for learning. Plus, there's a gratuitous amount of pineapples. You're welcome. Oh yeah, welcome back to the Marketing for Learning podcast. Hey guys, sorry it's been a couple of weeks since you've heard from Han or I. There's really no excuse. We're just doing marketing for learning goodness here at Mass, and sometimes we just don't get around to doing the podcast. But I'm here today and I'm really looking forward to refreshing and reminding you guys and urging you to take a pause, because sometimes I think in our industry and in our world, everything's so fast paced. We get instant gratification from so much of our consumption products these days with regards to, instant gratification on social media, likes. And we sometimes expect that in other parts of our lives. And I suppose I just wanted to take a bit of a moment to remind you guys that marketing doesn't get you immediate results. And what I mean by that is, well, what it says on the tin, really. I think there are some areas of marketing that we can introduce into our efforts very quickly and see significant change, such as copywriting. If we improve the way that we write, we can probably very quickly improve the open rates of our emails, get more engagement on our social media, and get people's attention more easily. However, that is only a very small piece of the marketing pie. It takes real time to change hearts and minds. It takes a lot of consistent, concerted effort to actually shift something like your learning culture in your organization. It's really important that we remember that. It's really, really important that we don't listen to this podcast and turn on a few of the activities that Han and I are suggesting here, such as more consistent communications, learner personas, doing your value proposition canvases and the such like, and actually building out cross-channel learning campaigns. But these things still take time. You can't expect to turn on your learning campaign and it to suddenly get you exceptional results. Here at Mass, sometimes we'll be approached by vendors who, obviously sell learning products, learning technology, and many of them will be asking us to generate leads for them straight away. And I'll often say no. I'll often push back to them, and I'll often say, it's not as simple as us doing some social media posts and suddenly you have loads of new leads and people who want to buy your product. It's everything that I've said in this podcast time and time again. It takes time for us to build out our brand and people's perception of us in their minds and in their hearts, and for them to feel emotionally invested and connected with us, to have the confidence in us as a product or a solution, i.e. your learning. It takes time. If you've ever heard of the rule of 7 in marketing, this is an old school thing back from the days of more traditional advertising, but the logic was that it took someone 7 times to see a movie poster before they'd actually remember that they'd seen the poster. 7 times, and that was in that day and age when there wasn't as much media noise, there wasn't, a smartphone device permanently attached into our claw-like hands. Ultimately, we're fighting for people's attention, and therefore it takes time for us to cut through that noise and to really permeate the pre-existing notions that they already have about our brand, our product, our services. So I'll often push back to those people and I'll say, we can't magic leads for you. If you want us to help you build a brand, if you want to have a more strategic outlook for the role that marketing plays in terms of adding value to the business, we can do that. But if you want me to tell you that tomorrow you're going to get 1,000 new leads, it's just not going to happen. And it's not going to happen for you either. You're not going to just start a learning campaign and suddenly have a massive, massive shift in behavior. You might get some spikes and some troughs, when you launch your campaign or certain initiatives that are particularly noisy. You may well get some flurries of activity. But what we're looking for is an incremental increase in gain over time. This is why when we work with clients on projects, we typically will build out campaigns that span at least 6 months, but ideally a year. If we're looking at a culture change or a real big change management project, we're really looking at somewhere between 18 months and 2 years from a campaign perspective. So don't sell yourself short. Don't get disheartened because maybe you're not getting the immediate traction that you believe you should have gotten from launching a campaign or undertaking some of the tactics that we'll talk about in this podcast. Keep up the good work. Keep up the consistency, because that's the really, really important part. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of experimentation. It takes a lot for you to test out your personas, learn more about your audience, and actually see what's working and what doesn't. You need lag time to actually validate the impacts that your marketing is making to your business. You've got to try out different copywriting techniques, different channels that work, different ways of targeting and segmenting people. What's your cadence like? What's your process? Do you have an established way of working with other functions in the organization? Do you have a cadence when it comes to campaigns? Are you doing the same thing over and over? Are people getting bored of that? What's your visual ident look like? Are people getting fatigued with that? This all needs a robust and rigorous testing period in order for you to actually refine your approaches and improve them. So don't give up because it's not working instantly. It's not supposed to. And that's the real point I'm trying to make here, is marketing works if you're allowed to have the medium to long-term lens. Quick kill, short-term marketing approaches are only ever as good as the length of time that they're built for. So if you're only doing a 4-week campaign, you're probably only going to get 4 weeks worth of results. So you have to invest the energy, you have to look a little bit more long-term, and you have to think more about the fact that you're actually kind of building this from scratch. You're building it from the ground up, and it takes time, and that's okay. Another great example of things that take time is this podcast. We have just recently had over 15,000 downloads on this podcast. So my goodness, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, for listening, for being patient with our inconsistent publishing schedule. I would lie and say that we plan on being more consistent, but hey, that's the name of the game. We do our best and we really try to support you guys where we can. So 15,000 downloads, thank you. We've got lots of new interviews in the pipeline. I've actually got an interview with Miriam Nealon that I just need to edit. And we've got a few other discussions in the pipeline as well. Han and I are going to do a few more episodes together just to mix things up. We really like our episodes together, but sometimes getting our diaries to align isn't always the easiest. So as always, thank you for being powered by pineapples, and thanks for tuning in. Remember, this stuff takes time. We've been doing this podcast for, a year and a half now, I think. It's only getting to a place where we're getting regular, consistent, active listenership. For a long time, the results just aren't there. So stay patient, believe in the process, and have confidence that you're doing the right things that are going to pay you dividends in the long term. I'll see you soon.